This week's stretch class is for our straddle and pancake positions. I uploaded to the intermediate syllabus this week our pole straddle / plus sign, and a lot of the progressions for that require a lot more flexibility. The more bendy you are, the easier the exit as well. So here's a class to help you out with that. Remember, if we don't stretch, if we don't practice, if we don't train for these positions we're doing on the pole, off the pole, they are not going to work, or they're going to be so much harder. Okay, let's start with a bit of a warm-up. I'm really mixing passive stretching with active movements today. It's all jumbled in, so just follow along. You just need a little bit of space, and if you have it, some yoga blocks are great, or you can improvise with some books or something else around the house, or just do your best with what you've got. Okay, so starting off, we're just going to start with a figure of 8 with the knee, and make sure you're not going too far. If your hip's really popping, then I want you to play around with slowing it down and making the movement smaller to see if you can find some control with the hip joint, because we don't ideally want it to be popping everywhere. So take it slow and controlled, squeeze, engage your muscles. I'm squeezing my bum, I'm squeezing my leg, and squeezing my quads, okay, and I'm trying to stay within a comfortable range of movement. I can go so much bigger, but to do that, I'm going crunk, crunk, all sorts of horrible pops and crunks and weird things happening. So nice and controlled within your hips, comfortable range of movement. Sometimes I find just bringing the knee up a little bit as well helps if it's really popping. Other side. Same thing, slow, controlled, trying to stay in the hip socket so we're not forcing the hip to go places it doesn't want to. Oh, no balance today. Oh, dancing across the mat. Okay, so the next thing we'll do is our leg raise. It's super important with this one that we are focusing on knee to the ceiling as much as we can. And the leg isn't directly out the side. It is going to be more like if you were doing a straddle. So it's off diagonally from your hip. So standing nice and tall, tuck your tummy in, keep your standing leg really straight and bend the leg up to begin with in a right angle. Remember, it's not in front, it's not to the side. It's diagonal. Ooh, I really do have bad balance today. And we're going to try and straighten the leg 5 times with control. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take the leg down, now lifting up. 5. Oh, my hip really popped then. 4, 3, 2, 1, hold it up, try and keep it there, try and keep the knee to the ceiling. Oh, and then we're going to bounce, try and pull the foot higher each time, try and keep the chest up, try not to let yourself start tipping over. And relax. Other side. It's important to say at this point, some form of hip popping and cracking is actually fairly normal. There may be reasons why it's happening that need to be addressed, but for the most part, you're probably not doing any real damage by it popping. Joints popping and cracking, totally normal. However, if you get pain or you know that you're really struggling with certain things, I do recommend you see someone who knows what they're talking about, a physio, a chiro, a massage therapist, a sports therapist, who understands the needs of pole or other similar sports and activities, okay? And they will hopefully be able to help you. A lot of it is being able to strengthen around the hip joint to support it, but there's a lot to get into. I don't know if I fully understand it. I'm not supposed to do that above my pay grade, but there is a lot of information out there about it. So if you struggle, I can point you in the direction of some really great resources for that. So it's other side now. Knee is up, think tall, really like you're being pulled out the top of your head by a piece of string, bottom leg nice and straight, straighten, top 5, 4, knee to the ceiling, remember, 3, 2, 1, up and down, controlled. 5, I'm knocking my blocks over. 4, 3, 2, 1, hold it up there, really squeeze, keep that knee to the ceiling, don't let it start to turn. And then we're going to pull it up like we're bouncing it up to the ceiling. And relax. Shake it off. Hands on hips, little circles. So remember, always listen to your body. If something doesn't feel right, even if I'm telling you to do it, if it doesn't feel right, listen to your body. Ask me some questions. Okay, you can always contact me in the Facebook group or on Patreon. And I'll do my best to help you if I can. Other direction, but don't just force through the pain and discomfort. Stretching should feel intense, but it shouldn't be like agony. You shouldn't be really struggling. Well, you might be struggling, but you shouldn't be struggling because you're in a lot of pain. Okay, bigger circles. Make sure you're squeezing your bum to come up. You want your feet facing forward, knees facing forward. Squeeze that bottom to come up. Try and keep your back as flat as you can. So rather than like rounding like this, where my spine's really curling, try and keep your chest up and push down through your tummy when you're doing these. Other direction. Okay, we're then going to go opposite hand to foot, or wherever you can reach. So it might be here, okay? Or it might be all the way down to the foot or somewhere in between. Squeezing the bum to come up. Don't actually neglect the muscles that are supposed to be helping you. It's okay if your back is rounding a little bit, but try again to push chest and belly button forwards rather than rounding to do it. We're going to hang down, we're going to cross our arms, and this time we are just going to let ourselves round and flop forward. So I am not on a straight back now, I am very relaxed down. And what we're going to try and do is just a figure of 8 with the top of the head and the arms. Nice big circle, but controlled. Don't force it. Do what you need to do. And the other direction. Most of stretching is about listening to our body. It will tell us if it's not happy, let's put it that way. Okay, so now we're going to put our hands on the floor and we're going to just take one foot out to the side into a lunge position. My hair's crazy today, I should have put it up and clipped it out of my face, it's going to drive me crazy. So there's 2 different ways we can stretch in this side lunge position. Let me just fix my hair, it's going to keep annoying me as I'm doing things. There's literally hair everywhere. Okay, so little detour there. So there's 2 different things that we could be stretching in our lunge position. So most important one for today is the inside of your straight leg, but you can also, if you position correctly, be stretching the calf of the leg you're sitting on by trying to get the weight directly over the ankle so that you're trying to push the heel down to the ground, okay? So that's kind of a bonus stretch if you want to try and do both. But the key is to really push down through your bum into the floor and to get your weight over that front leg. And just hold it for a moment. And then we're going to go to the other side without using our hands if we can. This is always challenging for me. Probably one of the hardest ones for me. On the other side. And holding again. Oh, very stiff today. I've been teaching plus sign all week, so I think my legs are like getting pretty sore at this point. They're like, why do you keep doing this? Okay, swapping again. And now we're just going to keep going from side to side, sinking all the way down and all the way up. Oh, I'm falling. Oh, I do find some challenging. My legs are quite weak though. And that's the thing with a lot of the poses we do on the pole. You know, I've said in the tutorial for the plus sign, you need to actually be pretty strong and you need to be engaged in it. We're not like collapsing into the position, we're actually using our muscles to support the position. So I'm the worst for it with my legs anyways, but being super strong is gonna help your flexibility journey. It used to be kind of a bit of a myth that you can either be strong or you can be bendy. It's rubbish. You need to be strong and bendy, and it's totally possible. Okay, so where are we at? I'm sure there's something else I've forgotten. Ah, yes. So, little exercise which is kind of similar to what we've just done, very loosely similar. Just need to give myself some space. So if you have wood floor, this is ideal. But this works even on carpet. So we're going to come to a kneeling position. So before we had the foot tucked under, and we were kind of like more like here. Now we're coming so the foot is on the floor. The other leg is going to go straight to the side. And what we're trying to do, and there's two options here. You absolutely could roll the knee forwards. That's probably more beneficial for the different types of box split. For straddle, I would prefer if we think about rolling the knee up towards the ceiling so we're in external rotation. And what we're going to do, keeping our hands from supporting us, is going to put them on your hip or wherever you want to put them. We're going to try and slide out with control and in with control. As I'm coming in, I'm actively pushing my foot down into the floor, like when you close scissors. Okay, it's that kind of a motion. So we're going to do 5 on each leg. If you are on carpet, just do your best, okay? It should still work, it just might be a bit harder coming in. So sliding, 5, 4, 3, you might find you're going lower, you might not. 2, 1. And then swap sides. Should feel like your muscles are working, but it shouldn't be too intense. And you could totally do more of these. We haven't got time to do loads of everything today, but you could add in extra ones if you find this one helpful. So other side now. 5, this is my weak side. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so next position. We're just going to do some nerve glides. So this might seem a bit weird for some of you because we're going to be looking at the sciatic nerve. When we are in a straddle position, maybe let's talk about that straddle position. So in a straddle position, it is our hamstrings, which are directly on the back of the leg, and our adductors, which are the inside muscles that are being stretched or lengthened. Okay, they're the thing that is extending and being stretched. The muscles on the side of the bum and the hip are the ones that need to be engaged and strong. But these muscles also need to be strong so that we don't go too far or we feel unsupported and we end up tearing something. Okay, super, super, super important. Now, the biggest thing I find is people finding like pinchy feelings in their hip or like crampy feelings on the outside of their hips. This is when people end up more like this position, okay? So before you can think about getting your chest to the ground or your legs wider, you've actually got to first work on getting the bum out and the chest forward, okay? So I believe, I can never remember which way around it is. I think this is like a posterior tilt. Either way, this is when we do our tummy engagements in classes and tutorials, and we're talking about going from this tucked up kind of granny position to this arched position. It's the difference between that. So that tummy engagement, we now want to do the opposite. So when I say squeeze your tummy in, I'm saying tuck your bum under. We don't want to do that now. Now the reason for that is that in a straddle position, when we are back like this, the knees are technically pulling into an internal rotation. And when the legs are in an internal rotation, so that's when the knees are starting to roll in across the body, the bony parts of the hip end up bone on bone. Until we can get the chest forward so that the knees then start to go into more of an externally rotated position, can we have enough space between the bones to allow you to even get to your muscles? So if you're really like this and you're struggling, you're like, oh, I can't get forward, I physically can't do it, I can't feel any stretch, it's probably because you're bone on bone, especially if you're feeling pinchy or like crampy in your hips, okay? So that didn't explain why we're doing nerve glides, so we're doing nerve glides. That will all make sense in a minute as well. So the nerve glides is because we are actually stretching the hamstrings, so the sciatic nerve absolutely plays a role in this one. If the sciatic nerve is not moving freely, because that's part of your flexibility comes from your nerves and your nervous system, if it's sticking, okay, if it's not moving correctly, it's going to massively inhibit you. This made so much of a difference for me with my hamstrings. I always wondered why I just had pain going down the whole of the side of one leg and I could never feel my stretch in my hamstrings. It's because my sciatic nerve was stuck. It wasn't allowing me to get into my hamstrings. I did do some early stretching classes where we talked about this in more depth, where I explained exactly how your nervous system works and how your nerves work and why these exercises help. I'm not going to do that today because otherwise we're going to spend a lot of time talking. But these exercises do work, and I'll try and find that class and link to it if you're interested in learning more. So, nerve glide, nice and simple. So one leg you're going to hold under both of your arms with your knee as close to your chest as you can. Your back leg can either just be relaxed flat, or you can put the foot on the floor with it bent, up to you. We're going to pull this knee in, and the point of this is not to feel like it's super intense. You barely want to feel it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to stretch the leg until we start to feel some resistance. We're then going to flex the foot and bring it down. And we're going to do 10 on each side. So holding the knee, straighten until you feel resistance, flex, and down. So that's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Set up the other side. And what I have to say is I used to get a lot of sciatic pain before I started doing these exercises. I do them quite regularly now and I never get sciatic pain. Like basically never anymore. So it's not the only thing that's going to help sciatic pain. You also need to strengthen around the area, usually in the bum, but not always. But it made such a difference to me. So definitely if you get sciatic pain, try that one regularly. So other side, and holding the knee in, straight until you feel resistance, flex and down. That is 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 4, 3, I don't even know anymore, 2, 1. Okay, so now we come to our straddle. Don't go as wide as your legs can to begin with, bring them maybe slightly in. So, we talked about how if you're like slouched back, you're going to struggle to get your chest and your body forwards and your legs wider because of the way the hips are. There is actually a really good video, I think it's Dani Winks, DANI.Winks. You have to scroll back, maybe I'll try and find the link and post it. It explains exactly what I'm talking about, and she has a real good visual with a skeleton, like a fake one, that you can have a little look so that makes sense. And she explains it probably in better detail than I do. But what you need to really know for today is that we don't want to be slouching where possible. We want to be up. And even if that means bringing the legs a little bit closer, that's more important. So we're just going to start off with some gentle, gentle, gentle circles. Really gentle. Now, really think about starting to stick your bum out and push your belly button forward as you do these, as opposed to like rounding your back. So you're already thinking about sitting tall, sticking your bum out, sticking your belly button out. So I am in this position, not this position. So it looks like this. It might be really small, okay, versus this, which isn't going to do a whole lot. So sitting tall. You will feel when you get your bum in the right place that you're like on your sit bones versus kind of being on your bum cheeks. So just take some time here, squeezing your legs into the ground to support you. Doesn't have to be super dramatic, but just think about pushing down through your feet a little bit. And just try and relax the other muscles. So you're pushing down, those ones are engaging. You're making sure that you have that pushing forward of your tummy. Other direction. You're not forcing anything though, you're listening to your body. What feels good. Don't need to go very big, but you may find the longer you do this, the deeper you can go. I always find it's a really great warm-up to getting me deeper. Okay, so now we're purposefully going to go from that rounded position to that arched position. So we're just going to keep going. Again, I'll show you from the side. It's going to go from here to here, here to here. Just slow and controlled, not trying to force it too much. Remember, if we're in a lot of pain, our nervous system is going to respond and shut us down. It's going to stop us from going any further, and it's going to potentially stop you from progressing. So gentle, listening to your body. Okay, we're going to go side to side. Because we also, for a lot of pole tricks where we're in a straddle position, it's quite often a side bend involved in it, particularly our pole straddle. Less so our plus sign, but also that too. We're also going to go over the top. Keep both bum cheeks flat to the floor. Don't let one side pop up. And to the other side. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to try and do our little leg raises from this position. So we're going to go 5 on each leg, then 5 together. Try and sit tall. Again, don't let yourself start to slouch backwards. Try and keep the chest forward, the bum back, and think tall. It will naturally want you to lean back a little bit. Just try and fight it as best you can. So, lifting. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Also, just notice when I looked this way, I know I've got some very weird marks on my shoulders today. I saw Hayley for some cupping yesterday. My left shoulder has been really limited, and now it's free. 2 sessions with her, and it's gone from being, this is why you have to see people who really know what they're talking about. It was stuck here for probably, God, years, and in 2 sessions, I have complete use of my shoulder back. Who knew that if you actually get people who know what they're doing, that they can fix you? Okay, other side now. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Both hands in the middle. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. If you need to come out at this point and have a little shake off, totally feel free to. I know it can get really intense when you're first training these. Okay, so if you have some blocks, what we're going to do, we're going to sit in our straddle. If I kind of go this direction, so you can probably see a bit better. I'm going to do one leg at a time. So I'm going to take these blocks to the side of me. One is sideways, one is long ways. Sitting nice and tall, I'm going to try to go over one, and then if I can, the other. Okay, that might be a bit much. I think mine were a bit too far apart, to be fair. I probably need to bring them in a little bit. So have a little test of where you're going to need them to make it challenging. It might be enough to do one block. Okay, it might be, they might need to be closer in. Okay, we're going to do one leg at a time, so you can play around with what's comfortable. This is about the muscles rather than strengthening the muscles as we're moving through these ranges versus, you know, having to go as wide as possible. Okay, smaller and more controlled is better. So I reckon mine will be here and here. Still a bit too far. Let's go a little bit closer. So just play around until you're happy. That's good. Okay, so we're going to do 5 on each leg. So 5 being the 2 movements, or 1 if you've only got 1 block, or if you've only got 1 book, or even if you're just imagining there's a block there. Okay, that's fine if you need to imagine. Wherever you're at, okay, it's fine. So nice and tall, you're going to want to lean, try to fight it. You can even put a hand behind you to push slightly, that often helps. And 1. Oh, intense. 2. 3. 4. This is my stronger leg. What's going to happen on my weak leg? And last one, 5. If the second block's too high, it's fine. Do both low. Okay, you just got to work with what your body's allowing you to do at this point. Let's go to the other side now. I reckon we should be all right about here. So see, my legs are not super wide. Okay, don't need to be super wide. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're on 4, we're on 3. Oh my gosh, I swear my brain today is going 4. If I'm not on 4, you do an extra one. 5. It's a Saturday and I've had to teach today, which is not normal for me. I had to go and do some free taster sessions at our studio. I had 2 really busy classes, which are really fun and exciting, but I think my brain is frazzled now. Okay, so next thing we're going to do with the blocks or books or whatever you've got, you could also do this, I'll show you an alternative in a minute, so let's do the exercise first. So we're actually going to put the blocks under our knees, okay? And all we're going to try and do is straighten the legs off the floor, and we're really squeezing our quads, okay? This is the main thing that's engaging. There will be some other muscles. I'm pushing down through the legs, for example, as I'm lifting up through the quads. Try and keep tall. We're going to do about 10 of these. If you don't have blocks or anything to put under your knees, it's not quite the same because we're not in as much of a straddle position, but you can hold your legs like this and try and straighten them. And it's about being controlled and slow and trying to get to that end range. If this is hard to balance, you can do it against a wall or your sofa or even your pole if it's up, okay? But it's about being slow and controlled into that straight leg. So, how wide your legs are going to be depends on where it's challenging but not impossible. This is quite good for me, so I'm going to go here. Not quite at my maximum, but just a little bit off. Okay, and 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I don't think we need the blocks now. Let me just check, but I don't think we do. No, we don't. Okay, so we're going to go back into our straddle position one more time. We're nearly at the end now, guys, and we're just going to lean wherever is comfortable. Okay, so we want to feel a little bit of a stretch, but just not too intense. So it could be that you're more up like this, okay? It could be that you can go all the way down, but make sure that you can feel the stretch, but it's not agony, and that you have that pelvic tilt. So stick your bum out, stick your chest out, get that flat arched back, and go there, okay, where you're comfortable in that position. So it could be really tall, it could be basically upright, but if you feel it, that's all that matters, okay? So I can technically go flat, but to do so requires rounding my back a lot more than I really should. And today I'm also very sore because I've been teaching stuff like this all week. My poor adductors are not happy with me. So yeah, you probably aren't going to be at what you think your maximum is, just because of the back position. And you may find over time you can get that a little bit lower. You might notice I'm kind of wiggling my feet. I find that having a little bit of movement in my stretches is good for me. It helps to keep my nervous system calm. It helps to kind of, well, I mean, think about it. When we're doing these movements on the pole, we're not just opening our legs and we're there. We're moving through different ranges of movement. So our legs are internally and externally rotating, our bodies are twisting, we're side bending. There's all these different movements happening. We're not just static in a straddle. We have the movement in, we have the movement out. And so getting the body comfortable with all these different positions is a good thing. So movement is fine when you're stretching as long as it's controlled. We don't want to be like bouncing and like really dramatically throwing our face towards the floor with no control. The muscles need to engage, they need to be supported, it needs to be within a safe range of movement, but movement can be really good. It can help to really relax everything, and I find that I can go so much deeper. So just taking the pressure off and moving into different positions can make so much difference. Okay, so last one. And to note, I'm actually doing a course on straddles and shoulder mounts, so inverts, choppers, rather than straddle as in straddle, because we use straddles in those positions, and the better your straddle, the more you can get your chest to the floor, the easier your deadlift, your lifting inverts and shoulder mounts are going to be, because your lever is shorter. Okay, so this is also really good for things like shoulder mounts and inverts. And I'm probably going to learn some more stuff on that course. There's about 6 hours of videos so far to get through. So I may do some more videos on that too. So all of this is also good for your inverts and your shoulder mounts. Okay, so happy baby. I don't know why it's called happy baby, because it makes me fucking angry. But we're going to lie on our back and we're going to grab our hands from the inside of our knees to the outside of the feet. So I'm holding the outside of the foot, but my knees are going around my arms and keeping our back as flat as possible. So we're not letting our bum come up and round. I'm trying to think about that, almost that arched position we used in our straddle. I'm pulling my feet gently down, not too rough. And we're just going to make sure we're breathing. Like all stretching, we need to breathe. Our body needs oxygen, funnily enough. Just going to hang out here for a moment. I really hate this one. It makes me so angry. I don't know why. We used to have a yoga teacher who worked at our studio, and she would tell me it was like some specific facet of, you know, my psyche that was causing it, and I was releasing a load of anger. You know, all the hippie stuff, whether you believe that or not, I don't know. I don't know whether I do. But maybe I've got a lot of pent-up anger and this is letting it out. I don't know. Okay, so just relax it a moment. It probably feels quite intense. Just shake off your legs a little bit, stretch them out. Just give them a little break. So the last one basically is almost like doing happy baby, but with the legs straight. So some of you may not be flexible enough to do this at all. So do your happy baby again. But if you're a bit bendier, you're going to hold your ankles on the inside, keeping your back flat. You're going to open your legs and start to pull them down towards the floor. And you're going to hold this position. Can feel a bit intense to hold the legs there like that. Another thing you could do if you had 2 bands or 2 yoga straps, you could wrap one on each leg and then use that to open it. It's probably easier if you can't grab your leg to just do happy baby at this point. Make sure you're breathing. And relax. And again, give those legs a little shake off. So sometimes if we've gone quite deep, at the end of a session, our straddle may actually feel worse or be worse because we've kind of maybe taken it just a tiny bit too far, and it's not going to take you backwards long term. But if we come back to the straddle and you feel like, oh, I'm worse than when I started, that's normal. Give it a few days of rest and healing, come back to it, and you will start to see progress. I think straddles for me are one of my favorite stretches because I can pretty much do them anywhere. I don't need anything special, and I can just sit in front of my TV and hold my straddle. And I think that's why my straddle tends to be one of my better positions and one of my favorite stretches, is because I do it more. The things we hate to do are actually the ones we need to do more. So if you know your straddle isn't great, just throw some of these movements we've done today or some of these stretches into your daily life, even if it's just to sit in front of your TV for 5 minutes doing some different movements and some different things in that straddle. And I promise you will see so much better and faster progress than thinking, oh, I have to spend an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours a week stretching it specifically. Okay, a little bit each day is a constant reminder to our body and our nervous system that this position is safe and comfortable, and it will improve quickly. Okay, hopefully that all makes sense. As always, let me know if you have any questions, and don't forget to train smarter, not harder.